Higher planet as no. Just no. That's not a recognized classification, the chief taxonomist exclaimed, his translucent appendages flailing in frustration through layers of holographic data. We have standards. The issue wasn't that Earth was dangerous. The galaxy had no shortage of hazardous worlds. The problem was that Earth didn't make any sense. It defied every established law of planetary evolution with the kind of reckless abandon typically reserved for quantum mechanics on a bender. Take the atmosphere, for example. Most oxygen-rich planets either incinerated themselves or stabilized into something less flammable ages ago. Earth's atmosphere, meanwhile, was basically a carefully regulated explosion waiting to happen. And its dominant species had the audacity to harness this volatile mixture to power things like toasters. The initial survey team's reports read like panicked hallucinations, as if written by an overstressed insurance adjuster. Every life form seemed designed to survive conditions that shouldn't even exist. Some thrived in boiling hydrothermal vents, some required no oxygen, others endured complete dehydration. And those were just the microbes. Look at this thing, groaned the assistant taxonomist, pointing to a magnified image of a tardigrade. It survives in space. No ship, no tech, just vibes, apparently. But the crowning absurdity, the cherry atop this taxonomy nightmare, was Earth's dominant life form, humans. Bipeds with no claws, no armor, no natural weapons. And yet, somehow, they'd turned these deficits into advantages. No claws. Build better ones from metal. No armor. Invent submersibles that could withstand deep-sea pressure. Can't fly. Construct machines that leave the atmosphere behind, just for the challenge. The classification board had been trying to file Earth under something anything for 3 standard cycles. So far, they'd created 17 new subcategories, 4 emergency protocols, and had spun off an entirely new xenobiology division, just to begin explaining what they'd found. Maybe, a junior analyst ventured, bioluminescent spots flickering nervously, we should consider the possibility that Earth isn't naturally occurring. Silence fell. Even the quantum probability engines hesitated. Explain, the chief demanded, all 7 eyes locking onto the junior analyst. Well, they began, everything about Earth seems deliberately optimized not for comfort, but for creating tough, adaptive life. The gravity's ideal for strong bone growth. The atmosphere keeps conditions just shy of catastrophic. Seasonal shifts, diverse biomes, frequent disasters, it all pushes evolution hard. It's like a forge for survival. The chief taxonomist's central eye widened thoughtfully. You're saying Earth might be artificial? I'm saying, the analyst replied, mandibles clicking with dread, it might be worse. It could be a training ground. A chill rippled through the room's probability field. If Earth had been engineered by some ancient species, not as a sanctuary but as a proving ground for unbreakable life forms, then the real question wasn't what Earth was, but who it was built to fight. The chief taxonomist turned to the latest report from the Human Observation Team. Humanity had just cracked faster-than-light travel, and their first instinct. See if it could be weaponized. Not out of malice, just pure curiosity. Because that's what humans did, dismantle the universe to see how it ticks, then rebuild it stronger, faster, meaner. With a sense of existential dread that would have made any human proud, the chief finally issued the official designation. Earth, Class X Deathworld. Subclassification, Probable Weapons Testing Facility. Meanwhile, somewhere on Earth, a human sneezed, then immediately started wondering whether explosive decompression could improve rocket engine efficiency. The galaxy shuddered. Though it didn't know why. The junior analyst, still observing the humans through countless monitoring feeds, couldn't shake a thought. Maybe they had it all backwards. Maybe Earth wasn't built to train weapons for war. Maybe it was designed to create something so relentless, so adaptable, that everything else would one day need to rally against it. The classification board would later add a footnote to Earth's file. Warning: inhabitants exhibit a troubling tendency to turn lethal existential threats into sources of entertainment. Proceed with extreme caution and a good sense of humor. You'll need it.
Above Earth, the research vessel empirical probability drifted like a confused, oversized paperweight. Its crew was diligently recording what could only be described as evolutionary chaos theory in motion. The ship's name was quickly becoming ironic. Nothing they observed down there made a lick of empirical sense. "This can't be accurate," muttered the lead researcher, its crystalline body refracting light into stressed patterns. According to this, their oceans just decided to walk onto land one day. Its assistant, a gas-based life form housed in a precision containment suit, floated over. That's not even the weird part. Look what happened after the giant asteroid hit. Instead of going extinct, life just pivoted. Like, hey, let's try mammals now. And maybe throw in some flowers while we're at it. The team had begun cataloging what they referred to as evolutionary overreactions. The list was getting alarmingly long. Take the bee. Faced with the challenge of extracting nectar from flowers, most biospheres might produce a simple appendage or encourage plant-animal partnerships. Earth's answer? A flying insect that can detect electromagnetic fields, navigate complex 3D spaces, communicate via dance, and self-destruct its internal organs as a last-ditch defense. It's like the entire planet runs on sheer spite, the crystalline researcher observed. Everything has at least 3 backup survival strategies, and at least one of them ruins someone else's day. The assistant pulled up a file. Have you seen the thing they call a platypus? It was the biological equivalent of a software patch made at 3 a.m. A venomous, egg-laying mammal with a duck bill, beaver tail, and electroreception. Also, 10 sex chromosomes. It's not a creature, the researcher said. It's an evolutionary garage sale. But the real mystery wasn't in the outliers. It was in the patterns, or rather, the suspicious lack of them. Every time life stabilizes, said the researcher, pointing to the timeline, the planet hits reset. Solar flares, magnetic reversals, climate swings, something always disrupts the comfort zone. It's like Earth runs its own boot camp. They'd charted multiple mass extinction events, each followed by an evolutionary arms race that produced even more resilient life. It wasn't natural selection, it was accelerated selection, as if driven by intent. This isn't a tree of life, the assistant murmured, watching the data cascade across the screen. It's a training montage. The humans themselves were perhaps the most compelling evidence that Earth was more than just a particularly hostile planet. They weren't the strongest, the fastest, or the best naturally defended species, far from it. What they did possess, however, was an almost absurd level of adaptability. The research team had logged human settlements in nearly every environment Earth could throw at them: frozen tundras, where they built homes from ice, blistering deserts, where they carved out shaded cities, thick jungles, where they lived in treehouses, and even the deep ocean, which they were actively working on colonizing. There were already betting pools on how long it would take them to succeed. Look at how they handle environmental challenges, the crystalline researcher said, bringing up more data. Most species evolve slowly to fit their environment. Humans? They refuse. Instead, they bend the environment to fit them. Too cold? They invent heating. Too hot? Air conditioning. Too dark? Artificial light. Too wet or too dry? They move the water accordingly. It was like watching evolution throw up its metaphorical hands and just hand them the keys to the ecosystem. But it was their approach to actual danger that was most telling. Humans didn't just survive adversity, they studied it, documented it, and figured out how to use it to their advantage. The team watched in fascinated horror as humans deliberately exposed themselves to deadly pathogens in laboratories to develop immunity. They simulated natural disasters just to learn how to control or predict them. They even sought out hostile environments, for fun. They have this thing called extreme sports, the assistant explained to a visiting dignitary. They voluntarily put themselves in life-threatening scenarios and call it character building. The dignitary promptly recommended increasing their homeworld's defense budget. As the investigation continued, the team began noticing an unsettling pattern. Earth's harsh conditions weren't just producing tough organisms, they were creating intelligent ones. Dolphins had complex communication and social systems. Octopuses could solve puzzles and use tools. Corvids demonstrated reasoning skills on par with some sentient species. Even plants seemed to show signs of memory and interspecies communication. It's like the planet is running parallel experiments in developing intelligence, the crystalline researcher said, and humans are just the first to graduate. But that begged the question, graduate to what? The thought haunted the research team. Earth wasn't merely a death world, it was a carefully designed crucible, forged to produce life forms capable of surviving, adapting, and thinking their way through anything. If Earth was built intentionally, its creators had engineered something extraordinary, a planetary-scale training facility designed to produce unstoppable survivors. And humans? They were the top of the class. They saw the most hostile places on their world and thought, this would make a nice vacation spot. The research team's final report phrased it with academic restraint. Earth appears engineered to produce species capable of surviving conditions not yet encountered. This indicates either profound foresight or deeply troubling foreknowledge by its creators. The classified addendum was more blunt. Whatever Earth was designed to prepare for, we should probably start preparing for it too. The humans already are. And they don't even know why, they just do it instinctively. As the research vessel prepared to leave orbit, they received one final message from their human contacts, an invitation to something called paintball, described as a fun way to simulate tactical combat and build diplomatic trust. The crystalline researcher immediately filed a request for combat training gear. After all, they muttered, when in Rome. The gas-based assistant let out a resigned sigh, their containment suit shimmering with resignation and amusement. You know what's really going to fry your crystalline matrix, they said. We've only studied the life forms we can see. Want to bet on what's waiting in the parts of Earth we haven't explored yet? The silence that followed was broken only by the sound of the ship's probability calculators having what could only be described as a nervous breakdown. Deep within the galactic archives, so ancient even the dust had formed a rudimentary civilization, a long-dormant data crystal began to glow. Not unusual. Crystals glowed all the time. What was unusual was that this one was reacting to a search query, Earth. The archive's chief curator, a being composed entirely of organized data and way too much caffeine substitute, nearly experienced a heart attack, which was impressive, considering they didn't technically have a heart. Get me the High Council, they transmitted, practically vibrating with urgency. And someone who can read proto-galactic. The old stuff. Back when grammar was more suggestion than structure. The translation team arrived first, followed by a parade of confused officials. The crystal pulsed with symbols that made modern galactic standard look like crayon drawings. Well, barked the council representative, their ceremonial robes slightly askew from running. What does it say? The lead translator's sensory appendages twitched. It appears to be a receipt. Silence. The kind that felt heavy. A receipt, the representative repeated. The translator gained confidence. Yes. For a planetary engineering project. Designation, Garden of Death. They paused. Current designation, Earth. The silence deepened, somehow. The document was just one part of a vast archive outlining a project so ambitious it made modern planetary engineering look like playing with blocks. Earth hadn't been modified, it had been designed. From the quantum level up. According to the documents, it was created by a species called the predecessors, who were facing an unnamed threat powerful enough to scare them into action. What threat? Someone asked. We don't know, the translator said. But whatever it was, it made them build this. The records described a project spanning millions of years. Earth was not simply a planet, it was an evolutionary crucible. Its hostile environment, fluctuating conditions, and constant stresses were all engineered to push life to extremes. Gravity, temperature, atmospheric volatility, natural disasters, all were carefully tuned to force rapid adaptation and reward resilience, intelligence, and, above all, unpredictability. They didn't just want survivors, the curator noted. They wanted creative, chaotic survivors who could thrive in anything. Then came the final revelation. The translator found a section marked Success Metrics, which listed the traits that would signal project completion. Species can survive in any environment. Species demonstrates rapid technological development. Species thinks beyond survival, invents, creates, strategizes. Species turns certain defeat into improbable victory. In other words, the council representative murmured, they were trying to create humans. The room exploded with debate, panic, and at least 3 existential crises. The documents went on to confirm that even Earth's moon was engineered, its tidal forces timed to encourage evolutionary transition from sea to land. The planet's magnetic field, its mass extinction events, even the asteroid that ended the dinosaurs, all deliberate. They turned global catastrophes into training drills, the curator said in awe. It's genius. Terrifying genius. But one thing remained unanswered. If Earth was built as preparation, what were the humans being prepared for? Human advancement had checked every box the ancient architects had hoped for, and then, in typical human fashion, they invented a few more boxes and checked those too. The species had a unique knack for transforming threats into tools, uniting against common enemies while still competing internally to drive innovation. They wielded the power for both awe-inspiring creation and terrifying destruction, and turned perceived weaknesses into surprising strengths. There's one more note, the translator added, appendages trembling slightly. From the project's original designers. It says, if you're reading this and the project succeeded, you're likely concerned about what we were preparing for. Don't be. Worry about what we created to fight it. The words landed like a cargo freighter of dread. Humans weren't just inhabitants of a death world, they were its final product. Their unpredictable psychology, their habit of cracking jokes in deadly situations, their tendency to give personalities to everything from stars to vacuum cleaners, all of it suddenly made sense. They weren't glitches, they were features. The Council reviewed Earth's latest scientific breakthrough, dimensional phase shifting. Humanity's first instinct? Use it to make coffee faster. Their second? Weaponize it. Not out of aggression, but simply because humans naturally viewed everything as both a resource and a risk. What do we do with this knowledge? One official asked. Tell the humans, the chief curator's data stream twitched, a digital equivalent of a raised eyebrow. Tell the species engineered to overcome galactic-scale threats, the ones who play chess with death and treat physics like a rough draft, that they were built to be this way. Good point, came the reply. Besides, their media was full of theories like this. They'd already imagined the scenario, and usually responded with, cool. Can we upgrade it? The next translation revealed personal notes from a project designer. We built Earth to forge beings who could survive anything, adapt endlessly, and turn defeat into victory. We succeeded beyond imagination. Humans don't just adapt, they make the world adapt to them. They don't just win, they redefine victory itself. The final line sent a chill through the room. We aimed to create survivors. Instead, we may have created conquerors. The question is, will they conquer their enemies, or themselves? Just then, Earth transmitted news. Humans had discovered how to manipulate psychic energy, and were testing it to boost their internet speeds. The Council quickly voted to classify all findings as ultra-restricted. Put it under, things we're not paid enough to handle, one member muttered. And the humans, someone asked. Observe. Learn. And, whatever you do, don't stand in their way. Because Earth wasn't just a death world. It was a forge. And humans weren't accidents. They were the intended result. The day the truth leaked. Ironically, the revelation broke on a Tuesday, a day humans had always found suspicious. The data didn't emerge from secret councils or scientific exposés. It leaked through a bureaucratic mistake. Someone uploaded Earth's classified profile into the public archive instead of their lunch order. The first viral response came from a university student. Wait. Earth is a cosmic boot camp built by ancient aliens to make us galactic badasses? That's metal as hell. Meme storms followed. T-shirts popped up with slogans like, "Product of intelligent design, intelligence pending. Earth, because sometimes you need a better apocalypse." The Galactic Council had braced for chaos. What they got was enthusiasm. They learned their weapons created to fight a mystery horror, one crisis officer said. And their first reaction is wondering if they're hitting their potential. The human rep, sipping something highly unregulated, shrugged. Honestly, it's kind of validating. Scientists dove headfirst into the specs, not to understand them, but to optimize them. We're basically version 1.0, one researcher said. First drafts are made to be rewritten. The military was thrilled. We've been training without knowing what for. Now we know. Imagine what we'll do on purpose. The council watched in quiet panic as humans turned a crisis of identity into a checklist for self-improvement. Genetic engineering, cybernetic upgrades, environmental adaptation, nothing was off-limits. The ultimate survivors weren't satisfied with surviving. They wanted to become the next creators. "We should be worried," a council member whispered. "I'm more worried they're worried," another replied. "Because that means something's coming." Meanwhile, humanity rated hostile planets on the Earth difficulty scale and debated how to live up to their own design specs. But their goals had shifted. They didn't want to rule the galaxy. They wanted to protect it. They founded Operation Cosmic Safety Net, sharing survival tactics, innovation strategies, and grit with every species that would listen. "We're basically the galaxy's personal trainers now," one human diplomat explained. "Don't worry, we'll spot you." And deep in the archives, under Earth, the final note blinked in warning. Product functioning exactly as intended.